What is going on, y'all? Thank you so much for joining us on So I Did a Thing. My name is Chris Hennessy. I'm a remote live stream producer slash social media management kind of guy. And we just have cool conversations with cool people who are doing cool things. And tonight we have Sri Mahabir with us. Sri does a lot of video production, live stream production, all that kind of stuff too. And I just recently found out that she works with a juvenile detention center to help kids that are in there do just some basic financial stuff, which is amazing because they're not really teaching that in schools. And if they don't know how to handle their money, then it's just a bad deal whenever they get out. Believe me, I've been in and I've come out. I knew about budgeting and all that stuff, but I'm a little older than the kids nowadays. So anyway, without any, y'all drop a comment and let me know you're here. There's like 6 people watching, it says on LinkedIn, and nobody's commenting yet, and I don't know why. So y'all drop a comment, say hi, and I'm going to bring Sri out.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again.
Well, here's the funny part. I went live earlier today, and so everybody's like, she's still live? Yes. I'm still live.
Still live.
I went and watched. I had another client that I coached. I watched the Harry Potter, and I had a salad. So there's
nice. What's up, Jason Goodell? Man, that's like a free world friend of mine from years and years ago. Watching on Facebook, we got Maria Rouse in the house. Hey, Maria. A salad sounds really good right now. Yeah, for real. Actually, food in general sounds good right now.
Well, maybe after this, I'll make some ramen. Yes, I still live the ramen life.
All right. So are we talking about like real ramen, or are we talking about like the 25-cent package from the grocery store?
I'm talking about like the 25-cent package
because I do like that. That's what
I like to add the what's it called, veggies and stuff, and I put like I actually boil an egg before, and then I add the noodles towards the end. And so Karina, this is my daughter's roux. So this is not something that happened overnight. This is something that was a work in progress. Before, I used to go live in my room with a green wall and a crazy picture behind me. It's not crazy. It was Krishna and his groupies, as they say, that were around him. And I used a hair tie and a snow globe and a jewelry box to hold my phone so I could go live on Instagram in 2020. And then I slowly migrated here when my daughter went to college. So this is all because of, time. But if you are thinking about starting to go live, I will tell you, you can make a corner like that and work with it. And the rest of the house could look like, a tornado hit, but that one corner, nobody will ever know. And by the way, I use boxes and a plastic cart for my stand.
Nice. What's up, Trevor Van Warden? Good to see you, brother.
What's up, Trevor? Hi, Ann.
It was good, Maria. Like, it was good to finally meet him. Nathan was my original co-host. He was actually his idea to start the show, Ending the Stigma. And then he kind of lost interest, or, just kind of faded out or whatever. But we've been friends for like 3 years. So it was good to meet up with him yesterday.
That just means, Maria, you got to come out here and visit us. Come to Houston, not Dallas. And,
go to Houston. It's a little farther to Houston for me, but not much. It's just about an hour.
How far are you from Houston?
3.5 hours.
You're by Longview, right?
Yeah, I'm south of Longview.
How far is Longview? For those of you who don't know, Longview is East Texas.
It is East Texas. I'm probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour.
Ah, okay. So nobody wants to hear about this conversation. They really want to know. They all want to know. I really want to know. I'm going to ask this question. How many of you watched the 50-part series of Risa Tisa on TikTok? I would love to know. Who drop it in the comments? Yes. If you have not, say no, and it's okay. But she went from being nobody to now everybody knows or is learning her story. I just saw a video that she was on Good Morning America. She's got millions of views on her videos, which are 9 minute long. And so that makes you understand and realize that people are not, it's not about their attention span. It's about the fact that within a few seconds, they know if they want to watch the video or not. So we're moving away from the fact that people don't want to watch a long video. If it's of value or interest,
Right.
or they will watch.
Yeah. You got to really grab my attention with something, though, in the first few seconds, 30 seconds or a minute. Otherwise, I'm out. I have that
Okay,
shortest.
Maria.
Yep.
So
I'd never heard of her till you started talking about her backstage. And I was like, who?
okay, so for those who are trying to figure out who is Risa Tisa, so she married a gentleman in 2020, and it turned out that it was not what she expected. And she goes very detailed. It's like watching a Lifetime meets a docuseries on Netflix. She does a really good job of using just what she has. Sometimes she's in her car with rollers in her hair. Sometimes she just has a beanie. Like, it's nothing like extravagant. It's just her talking. Reesa, and then it's Teesa. So you know what? Let me go ahead. I'm gonna pull it up on TikTok just for
You going
you
to drop a
guys.
link in the comments?
You know what? Why is her name not popping up? This is her, Risa Tisa.
And it's backwards, but we can see it. RESSATESSA.
Mtessa. I mean ESA. I cannot spell today. Since everybody's asking, let me go to his profile. I
Yeah.
put it in my, and I'll put it in yours. Okay, so we're not here for that. Go on. Let's go on with these questions.
Yeah, we're not here to promote Risa Tisa, but good stuff. Thanks for dropping the link. So just tell us about, like, it totally blew me away because I never knew this about you. I mean, it's not like we talk every day anyway, but I mean, it's always, our conversations have always been focused around live stream and content creation and video and all that kind of stuff, entrepreneurship and all that. So I saw an Instagram story you did where you were talking about working with young men in your local juvenile detention center there in Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Jason is on Facebook is watching from Montgomery.
So
Beside Conroe. So yeah, tell us about that. Like, how did you even get into that? Like, that's just so, if somebody doesn't have a background in it, you almost don't even think about them doing that. So just tell us, like, the whole backstory on it.
I will. And this is not a young woman. I want to say this woman, yes, she's young in terms of, like, she might be in her early 40s, later 40s.
Yeah, you better say that's young.
Yes, that's young. I
Yes,
mean, she's
yes.
not like, 25. The guy that she was married at the time, he's now 50 something. So we're talking about, our age group. We're young. Okay. So to get started with all of this, is the backstory is when I was 11 years old, my brother was murdered. And so when we moved to Houston, I really felt out of place. Like, nobody could really understand, because when we moved here, everybody we were surrounded with, they didn't have that. And so it was always like, how can I find myself in everybody? And so, hey, Randy. And so at the temple that I still go to, they had this opportunity to volunteer at Children's Protective Services. So that's when I started going, and I started to be like, hey, I kind of relate with these kids, because, they've had something that sometimes doesn't always happen to everybody. They're either a runaway, or they're going through abuse, or they're being raped, or they've had something similar happen that I had. And so that's how I started to go. And I really loved volunteering. And then when I left in 99 for college, I never volunteered anywhere. And when I came back to Houston, I realized, oh, wow, they're still doing the same thing at the Children's Protective Center Services, because we used to play basketball, bring them cake and ice cream. And I was like, we could do so much more for these teens. I know that when I was younger, I wish we would do more. And so I started to figure out, like, what can we do? And so I was like, hey, let's have a themed activity for the month. And because I started to do that, the person who was, at the time at the temple running the activity, he was like, you
Mm-hmm.
take over. So when I started doing these activities, I started to look for more things we can do. And I learned like, hey, we can take a reading and we can break them up in groups and have them share their ideas. And that's when other people in the temple were like, hey, why don't we take this and why don't we go to JDC, Juvenile Detention Center? Because somebody watched a TED Talk who was a lawyer who represented in death row inmates. And they said that one of the things they wish they had was somebody who came in between the ages of 11 and 17 and kind of like gave this type of instruction and a different way of thinking that maybe they would not be where they are. It's not for sure, but it's something. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when we took these ideas of having, because we started to build a structure. We did a workshop with the kids at Children's Protective Services. I said, let's take the same thing, have lesson plans. Let's, we could do that at Juvenile Detention Center. And that's what we did. And so it first started with just human values like love, anger. But then at one point, I was doing both Juvenile Detention Center and Hey Randy and the other Randy. And I was also volunteering at Children's Protective Services. I got burned out. So I quit from both because I just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
handle it. And also, COVID hit. So one thing that happened when I took a break, I was really missing it. And I was like, oh man, I really miss. So once in a while I would come back and I always made sure I renewed my background check because at the juvenile detention center, they will make sure that you
Mm-hmm.
are not on anybody's list and they really look at
Mm-hmm.
your background. And
Yep. A lot
it was
different than
easier.
going into an adult facility.
Oh yeah, and you cannot take a phone in, you cannot take
Nope.
pictures. So
Nope.
there was even at Children's Protective Services, nobody's ever known that I've done all of this. It's always been like, I do this. So the only thing I can do is just take pictures outside. And
Mm-hmm.
when 2020, like I was volunteering here and there was a girl I trained. She took over, she did great, but then she wanted to do more with her life, meaning like she wanted to explore. So she moved to another city. I get a phone call from her and the temple, and they're like, we need you to come back. We need you to take lead and we need you to, change things up because I'm not here. Like, I'm not. I will tell you this, if I'm going to take over, I'm going to say, what are the areas we need to improve? And I'm not here to be anybody's friend because we're doing the same things over and over again and people are getting burnt out and we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
do that this time. And so what I did is going into 2023, we started going back in the facilities. If you just to keep you up to date, during COVID, we were not allowed to go into the facility of
Right.
JDC, but then in 2023, they said we could start going back. So my first session was with 4 kids, and it was really weird because prior to COVID, I would have a room of like 12, 16 teens, and now we're
Mm-hmm.
down to just 4. And so I talked to the officer in the room. I said, what are topics that these kids need help with? Because if they're already talking about, their dream boards or goals for the year, they have different groups that are coming in and helping and talking about prayer, love, human values, because we've been going to juvenile detention center since 2015. He was like, we have nobody who's talking about finance. And I was like, okay, we're doing that.
Right.
I'm not a finance major. I love numbers, but I started to learn and see what's going to resonate with the kids. I have a lot of experience volunteering with these kids. I've broken up fights. I've had kids throw things at me. I've had kids who, in the beginning of the session don't want to be there at the end of the session are my biggest advocates. So I learned that, finance is what they want to learn. And so I started to say, what are things that we can teach them? Do they know what a budget is? Do they know what an expense is? Do they
Mm-hmm.
understand? And these are young men. They're between the ages of 11 and 17. Do they understand that, one day they may be put on child support? They may be homeless, that they need to understand their responsibilities and how unfortunately, the system favors the woman over the man. And so it gets a little tricky. And so my job was, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to teach them. And I'm very real. I talk to them. I'm like, okay, look, you guys can sit here and say you don't like OnlyFans, or you're not going to, pay for extracurricular activities, but we need to make this budget be realistic. What job do you want? I look up the salary. I don't make fun of them. We talk about, what's an expense? What's an investment? Just basic. And I've even gone to the point where I asked them, do you guys want to learn how to make $1,000 online? Like at least $1,000? And they're like, yeah. So I taught them how several times, just the breakdown. Who is your audience? Who do you want to attract? What is the product? How are you going to get them to get on your email list? I get them to create videos, like they write their videos and they interact their video. And then I talk to, we walk them through like, okay, explain to me why this is going to work. And they just love it. And we got feedback after a year. Currently, right now, the background process takes so long. I'm the only one who's going. The feedback we got so far is that they love it, that I'm really speaking to the kids, that even though I don't see the same kids all the time, they said there's a seed planted in their heads, and now they know what to do. Like they understand what is a budget. They understand
Right.
how to take their money, because they may start out working at Amazon or FedEx or at UPS, and they understand how much money they're going to make per week after taxes with insurance and all of that. So they kind of, there was one point where I was like, look, so you guys are making X dollars, you got rent, food, all this other stuff. So can you afford to have a girlfriend? And majority of them will say no, because they're like, we can wait till we get to a better place. Robert said he once made 1,000 pennies.
I saw that. Yep. You're doing better than me, Rob. Say, I don't know what you did, man, but like you brought out the crowd. There, we hit 42 people watching, live people watching, and we're hovering somewhere between 36 and 40 right now. I think that's a record for me. I think my previous record was like 35 or something.
I think they're here for you, man. You're like the dopest person we know. I'm just, telling a story, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. And yes,
hey, shout out to Tierney real quick, man. Like her and her husband are gonna be on the show in a few weeks. Their story is really more geared towards kind of the ending the stigma show, but like kind of like this one is. But her and her husband both, like, they came out of drug addiction and they met and God brought them together, and they have they're amazing people. So she's a friend of mine she doesn't live here now, but I actually know her in real life. So thanks for dropping in, Tierney. And yes, girls do be expensive.
They do. And I'm not saying, I don't want women out there to think I'm bashing them. Like, let's be real. Like, even if you don't go get your nails done or your eyebrows done, there's still something you do, whether it's get your grays, hide the grays, or if you get waxed, or if you go and whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the truth.
And even think about if you go out on a date, even a cheap date, you go to a fast food joint and go grab a movie, that's an easy $50.
Right.
And that's if you don't get popcorn and stuff at the movie.
You can take me to cheesecake any day. I am okay with cheesecake.
I am okay with cheesecake too, but I'm just saying, even cheesecake, that's more than taking somebody to Taco Bell. Like, even if you broke as a joke and you're like, let's go to Taco Bell and a cheap movie, you're still easily out $50.
Right.
Which is okay.
Okay. And even let's say if you go to
hang on. I got to shout this one out. Like, this is a for real life, like, best friend. We've been friends since 2000 and probably 19 or 20. And she's from here, so like she's probably like 10 miles down the road
That's
at her
so
house. So, hi, Leanne. Thanks for dropping in. All right. Anyway,
But these are the topics we talk about. We talk about, hey, what's an expense? And so we go into, okay, there are tennis shoes, clothing, there's food, there's the OnlyFans, there's the, if you do drugs, that's your choice. I'm never advocating it, but I'm like, we're not going to sit here and live like we don't do this because all of
right.
these adults are here. Like, you need to put everything on the budget. And then we even look at, okay, what is an income? And so some of them don't understand that an income is salary, selling online. Like, what are you doing? And even I tell them what is an expense can be an income, like real estate,
Mm-hmm.
stocks. They happen to know that stuff. And so
Yeah.
we go through that, and they're pretty it's impressive to see what they know about. They're like, they want to learn about investing in, property or stocks or Bitcoin or whatever is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I find fascinating is when they realize, like, okay, if I'm making X dollars, then that means that I need to find another source of income. And I'm like, so what's your other source of income? And like, one person, only one, every time there's always one person, I'll deal drugs. And I'm like, okay, let's find something where you can be legal and do that. So there are certain states that allow you to have a cannabis dispensary, and what are the laws that you need to follow so you can do that. So I'm never going to say, I'm always going to be like, caution to everybody, but I also see people are entrepreneurs in different ways. Don't scam people. But if they keep saying, well, I want to learn how to do some, like, make money online, this is where I go in. They could be a pharmacist. I'm not, I don't push the street pharmacy, but um I do educate them on things that they could do out there with, making money. And, uh these are the conversations we have. And of course, I saw somebody who said, hey Kenny, um the LinkedIn video save out. Yes, it does save, but I'm not sure if you can download it. We can't hear you, Chris. You on mute.
I'm muted so I can cough. Yeah, it'll be on both our profiles. It'll be on my Facebook and YouTube. It'll be on Shree's YouTube. Her YouTube is paired. Her Facebook is not.
Yeah,
So yeah, it'll
Facebook
be
was
there.
being a punk, didn't want to play today. But if you're wondering what I teach them in the thousand, like how to make $1,000, I ask them, I say, what are things you could sell? So they do come up with stuff. Like, one person said they wanted to do pest control. I thought it was pretty cool. One wanted to do massage therapy. I was just really impressed by what the kids come up with. I didn't give them the ideas, but they use their real life. Like, some of them play sports, so then they're like, well, I want to do massage therapy, but cater to sports athletes, because I asked them specifically, who are you talking to? Why should they pay attention to you? What are the
Mm-hmm.
freebies? And so on. So this is how I came to doing this work at Juvenile Detention Center. And I started to share it in my stories because I was like, hey, Dimitri, I was like, I don't get to really talk about this side, but it's because of volunteering that has helped me be able to start my business. And there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that I do in my business. I go into the volunteering that if I was to do that workshop where you can earn $1,000, I actually could sell that online because I've been practicing it. And so I share this with anybody who's out there. If you're thinking about, volunteering, find something that you're passionate about. And then also, you could definitely, yes, there are transferable skills. Like, what you do in one area of your life, you could do in other areas. And by volunteering with kids, just this past Friday, I was recording a client, and the client was a little bit shy. She was a little combative about when I asked the question, what do you love about yourself? That's always the first question I ask before I record. She got really upset because she was like, why should I answer that? Wasn't prepared. And I said, but this is about you. What do you love about yourself? And so
Mhm.
that's how, if you can't figure out what you love about yourself, something's wrong. So, and that reminded me of students that I've had over the years who are like that rigid, don't want to work with me at first, and then the end just love working with me.
Mhm.
Why did
For sure.
they what did they do to land there? So, it could be that they murdered somebody. I've met somebody who murdered his girlfriend because she was dating somebody else but him. I've met somebody because they stole to be able to feed their family. I met somebody who was trafficked. They were trafficked, and so they were brought there. I've met somebody because they were in a situation where they were on meth, and they were in the session like really withdrawing bad. Another could be that they just they kept going to Children's Protective Services, so they had to go to JDC. And another reason could be that they did something that they shouldn't have, like maybe stole a bunch of cars. And so they
Right.
ended up there. Yeah, Maria, it gets real when you start to meet the ones that
Mhm.
they kill and you're like, well, I don't feel bad
So
for you.
young too, you know?
Yeah. I don't feel bad. I actually tell them I don't feel bad for you because you could have talked to somebody. But I feel bad for the kid who killed because they were tired of seeing their mom or their sister or brother get abused by this person.
Mhm.
Then I feel really bad.
Mhm. Yeah, you're
So,
right, Meg. So many survival crimes in there. People don't think about that. Like you said, you don't feel bad for them because they could have reached out. But it's, when you're living in the streets, you don't think about reaching out. You think about surviving, and you think about, where's your next bill going to come from? Are you going to get shot tonight or whatever? Um, so yeah, so many survival crimes. I'll never excuse a crime, but at the same time, you kind of have to have a little empathy on what led somebody to get to that point.
and I do have empathy for them. I really do.
Yeah,
I
for
tell
sure.
them. But it's also the person that killed because of a jealousy. I'm like, bro,
Yeah, bruh.
you could be
Like,
out there with another girl. And
right. Like, bruh, was she really worth it? Was she worth
it
that?
was really worth it.
If she was a
And
trifling asshole to begin with, then was she really worth all this?
right? It's not. Cammy, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Um, another, another lesson I learned through JDC is patience. Like I never
Hmm.
understood patience. I thought I had patience with my child, but I really understood patience because you have to understand where they're coming from. I have seen kids where they are the parent
Hmm.
and the mom or dad is their child and they're worried about. So I remember a child kept saying, I need to talk to my mom, I need to talk to my mom. I said, can you help me understand your mom and what is she like? And that's when they started telling me I got to make sure she takes her meds. If she doesn't, she goes crazy. I need to make sure she eats. And I'm like, that's so much pressure for a child to
So
take
much
on.
pressure. Yeah, for real.
But these are, I could see all these kids over the years. It's been 2010 until now. And I always tell the teens, I'm like, where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now? And I always tell them, look, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen kids come and go. Like when I started in 2010, those kids, it's 14 years. They were 14, 15 at that time. Guess what? They're 28, 29. Some of them are 25. Like time goes
Hmm.
by really quick. I'll never really know how much of an impact I made, but I do believe you planted a seed. There's one kid I remember
Exactly.
we did a exercise or a game where you picked a quote and you read it out loud and it was from Jordan and he loved it and he would recite it every time he saw. Yes, Maria, he is sick. So if you hear me talking more, it's because of that.
No, it was last week I was sick and I got crap all in my chest and in my nose. And so, yeah, I'm getting over it. I'm not getting sick. I'm getting over it.
I'm just saying, you know what? We're gonna play the card of yes. He's still here.
Right. So if I disappear in a coughing fit in a minute and it's just Shree, you'll know what's up.
Hey, I've got plans. Like if he disappears, I got videos, funny videos that I can watch, show you guys. But I would
Oh,
love to answer any questions that you guys have, whether it's
yeah.
video, live streaming, Risa Tisa,
I
cooking.
want to go back to what Cammie said a minute ago about will the live streams be on our profiles? They are there on our profiles, and we can download them from on our end on the back end from Restream, the streaming software we use uh, to repurpose. So she had asked about that, and that's kind of one of the big deals about live streaming is you can download the recordings, chop it up, and use it for short clips or 10-minute clips on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. So yeah. Any other questions though about what Shree does with JDC and all that? Yep.
See, that's me. And
Hey,
if we're
that's
on
me.
and that's Chris. And if you're thinking about, hey, if you do a live show, you can actually take this horizontal video and post it on TikTok. You might want to find where there's that hook. So that's something to keep in mind. Like people repost content, but you got to have a hook. You got to
Mm-hmm.
make them want to watch. So I'm going to say this. Look, everybody wants that first 3 seconds, but the real question is, what are you selling in the first 3 seconds? Is it an
Mm-hmm.
idea? Is it a helpful tip? Is it a a life quote? What is it?
Yeah,
What I,
no, exactly. You got to find when you're picking your clips, you got to do it strategically, or you have to know what you're going to say and build that in beforehand so you can. Uh, Kenny D was on
so
YouTube, y'all. That's probably why you're not seeing his comments.
KD, what's up? He's always on YouTube. He's so awesome.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the absolute best. And you've gotten
Yeah.
to meet him in person.
Because he lives like 15 minutes away from me.
What's so crazy to seeing pictures of that dude, man, and I love him to death. And I'm gonna say all this right in front of him is he has this crazy, larger than life personality. I expected him to be this big dude, and he's a little bitty dude.
Oh yeah, Kenny.
Yeah, like you just
Yeah.
expect him to be like 7 feet tall when he walks in the room because he's got this larger than life, crazy personality. I love it.
Yeah. That's what some people think. So when Robert met me for the first time in person, he's like, "You're short." I was like, "Well, Robert Berry, I don't know. I would wear heels all the time, and my daughter is 4'10", so she's shorter, so it would look like I was super tall, but really I'm not.
Yeah,
And his personality is six
yeah,
feet
for
tall.
real, Rob. Yeah, it is. Love that guy.
And I will say that JDC CPS, I always say this, it helped me with my daughter because I was always asking the teens, I was like trying to find a way to build a relationship with them. And I would say, hey, look, I have a daughter around your age. And so I kind of need your help. I don't really know everything. And I don't, we're kind of, I would make up a little bit that we were, having friction, and they helped me a lot to see things. I learned a lot of words that I would never have thought of, but I remember learning about fear of FOMO back in
Hmm.
2011. I learned about a ciabatta man. That's a man that pays for all your bills. I was like,
Oh,
wow,
that's
I
funny.
thought it was a bread, but okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. It's
I
been a
love it.
ride. I started in 91, I stopped in 99, came back in 2010, stopped in 2020, and came back to it. It's like it's meant to be for me.
I love it. And I love that you're catching them young, man. I absolutely love that part of it.
I don't know if it makes all I know is I plant a seed, and I understand that they go back home where things aren't always like
Hmm.
super cut, black and white. There's always gray. but I hope that this would help them kind of make changes and different choices. I always tell them, like, look, you think your friends are your friends, but they're really not. Because if they were your friends, they wouldn't be putting you in this situation where you're here or dead.
Right. Exactly. For sure. Well,
Yeah.
Shree, this has been absolutely amazing. And I'm not usually a big numbers guy, but I do pay attention to my live viewers and hit 55. And that is definitely a record breaker for me. So thank you for doing that. They all showed
You're
up for you.
welcome. I feel special.
You are. Yeah, definitely are. Thank you for showing up and just for volunteering. Like, I love it. You hate food. Come on, Randy House. All you post about
Randy,
is
I
food.
saw you eat. Like, you can't sit there and say you don't like eating. I saw you make your plate. I saw the man make a sandwich and eat it.
You've met Randy House?
I have, and it was like outside of San Antonio. So I'm like, how are you gonna tell me? I don't know.
He just moved up recently closer to me now. He lives about an hour on the other side of Shreveport, which is about 2 hours from me. So he's about 3 hours away now.
Yeah, that didn't help me at all. I'm like, what's the city? He's like, he lives an hour outside of where I live. That's like 3 hours away. I'm like, what's that mean?
No, he lives an hour outside of
direction.
Shreveport, which is about 2 hours for me. So that makes it about 3 hours.
So that means don't ask you for directions.
Oh my God, look. Only 15 slices of bacon. Is that all? That's not nearly enough. Well, hey, Julie. Thanks for dropping in as we're signing off. Better late than never. Got here just in time to say hi and bye. All right, y'all. Next week, I will be back with Amber Williams. She was supposed to have been my guest last week, but I had to cancel on her because I was sick as a dog. I was so sick last week. So thankfully, I had an opening for next week, and I was able to squeeze her right back in. So she'll be with us next week. And then the week after that, I don't remember who I have. I think it's Jess and Ben Owen, I think. And I'm super excited about that one too. So anyway, Shree, thank you again for being here. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, breaking a record for me. I really, really appreciate it. We will see y'all next week.